Hello everybody, my name's Mervyn Stutter. I do the Pick of the Fringe show at the Fringe every year. No Fringe this year, obviously, but I thought to myself, well, if I can't showcase the acts, why don't I talk to them and have the interview section going online? So that's what we're going to do, and I'm talking to Fringe favourites over the years, and who better to talk to than the wonderful Dillie Keane, her of Fascinating Aïda fame. Hello, Dillie.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, yes. Just in case there are people watching who don't know Dillie Keane and Fascinating Aïda. Fascinating Aïda have been going for a very long time. 1983 you started. And they are one of the nation's top cabaret acts. They tour globally, of course they do. But Dillie, you also perform. Was it Grumpy Old Women, one of the things you did recently, wasn't it?
Quite a few grumpy shows. 3 years ago I played... Madam What's-Her-Face in A Little Light Music, the old Battle accent.
I was just looking up some reviews of Fascinating Aïda, and in particular your mentions. I've got them up here. Her worldview is laconic, her lyrics lacerating, her voice now capable of going deeper than a Chilean miner. That was the Telegraph. You do have a rich and powerful voice. It's lovely. And it has got a little lower.
Actually, my voice is the thing that breaks my heart, because when I was young, in my teens, I had a really beautiful voice, and it was a beautiful mezzo voice. I was taken to see a lady called Mrs. Dyer, who was considered the top singing teacher for many miles of the South Coast, and she said, I can make an opera singer out of you. You've got a wonderful.
Wow.
It's gone. It's just broken. My voice is smashed into bits.
Yes, but I suppose that changes. Suddenly keys have to change. The normal keys you'd write in for yourself have to change?
No, I write for mezzo, and then I sing it an octave lower.
Oh, right. Okay. And you, that's your solo. Sorry, Dillie. Sorry, go on.
Some men.
Say again. Sorry, didn't quite catch that.
I've got a deeper voice than some men.
Oh, really? Right.
Not very nice notes, but I certainly sing C below middle C regularly.
Wow, yeah. My favourite review, if you'll forgive me, was from the Daily Mail. It said, "Exudes faded glamour like a Brighton seafront." How did you go? But you did start out in 1983 with a trio, because Fascinating Aïda is a trio, and then Adele Anderson joined you in 84.
Yes, but my first Edinburgh was actually in 1973.
Oh, was it? As what?
I'm awfully old. I went up with the university group from Cambridge. I just happened to tag along because they had somebody sick. I wasn't actually at Cambridge, but I knew someone in the group, and they said when this girl fell really sick with very bad, what's the kissing glandular fever? She left a sort of big hole in the cast of one of their shows, and so he said, "I know, send for Dillie Keane."
Excellent. 73. That's something, isn't it? I mean,
I know. I get quite annoying. I think Adele is sick of hearing people say, "You said my first Edinburgh wasn't it?"
Yes, Adele Anderson. She joined you. She joined you a year after you started, and you have become, the two of you, the actual centre writing partnership, haven't you? Really, for
Rick and Keith of the cabaret world.
Yeah, right. You introduced me to Stop the Week, which was very nice of you. Thank you. And I did some songs for it. But it was the writing to a deadline. 24 hours is all you got. How did you find all that, writing to a deadline, very fast?
I loved it. It was terrifying, but it was wonderfully liberating and wonderful, and it taught me my songwriting skills.
Deadlines are very handy, aren't they?
Yeah.
How do you find not working to a deadline and still writing?
Shite.
Pardon?
Shite.
I need a deadline to just focus my brain, really. But you're the same, are you?
I do. I am the same. I do need a deadline, but I'm going to write a song this afternoon.
Oh, right. Is that you just decided?
No fucking chance.
That's wonderful. I've actually done a lot of scribbling recently because well, there was no deadlines, but Pete Harris, my promoter pal, said write and start a YouTube channel and just bung up songs of the moment. You know, just carry on writing about what's happening and just bung up the songs. And I found that quite liberating.
Randy Rainbow does that, doesn't he?
Oh, God, well, he put.
But they're all parodies, which I don't actually approve of parodies.
No, that's right. Well, I think I parodied the Trumpety Trump Nelly the Elephant again, but which is a good old standard. I've done it on and off for years.
Kit Hesketh Harvey may have got there before you.
Well, I shall challenge him on that. I didn't do the whole song. I just do a kind of when I go out and perform, I just think sometimes the quickies at the front of a show, the quickie topicals, are quite handy to do. So I just do a verse and the Trumpety Trump bit, you know.
Well, Kit and I check in with one another every so often, so that we don't double up on topics.
Yes. You've had a huge hit, of course, because I was looking at the online hits you've had. I mean, an amazing number of hits, and Cheap Flights was probably the biggest song you had online in terms of hits. Is that right?
Because there are two very big uploads which have. And then there's various other ones. There's one with the Russian lyric translation. There's one with the Hebrew translation. We have an internet sleuth who finds these things for us, and it's well over 12 million with the aggregates of the various uploads.
Well, just to plug it, if you've ever had. If you ever had one of those cheap package deals and then found that you had to pay a bit more on the plane and a bit more for that on the plane and a bit more for that, I recommend you listen to Cheap Flights. It's obviously very funny, but also quite cathartic if you're angry about your experiences. The other one that I remember seeing Camille O'Sullivan sing is "Look, Mummy, No Hands," and that's been covered by Amanda Palmer as well as done it, I think. But that's become a big song for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's lovely. It's a good song. Tell you who else sang it is Patti LuPone.
Oh, right.
She recorded it, and it was chosen by my brain. I should have looked this up. I'm going to have to just have a look. It was chosen as. One of those on Saturday morning they do a thing where it's inheritance tracks.
Oh yes,
and it's that marvelous act. Helena Bonham Carter.
Wow. Okay.
As her inheritance track, I nearly fell over.
Well, it is perfectly formed. It's 3 verses, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's lovely.
I very very well structured songs most of the time.
No, I recommend Look, Mummy, No Hands, and also Shattered Illusions, which is a lovely, funny song about relationships, of which you've done many songs, Dillie, which is great. But Shattered Illusions, and the name Bette Midler.
Apparently Bette Midler sang it. She hasn't recorded it. Patti LuPone did record it. Bless her.
Oh, you need Bette Midler to record it, and then you won't ever have to work again, will you?
Oh, exactly, yeah. Or Barbara Streisand.
Yes. Okay, she'll do. Let's go back to the beginning. 1983. You formed this group, and where did you play in '83? What sort of venues were available for a trio like yourselves?
We played in a tent in the hole in the ground, which eventually became the Travis.
Ah.
New Travis. And it was an unusually moist year weather-wise. And we had to go between the caravan and the tent in our Wellingtons. Such was the sea of mud outside. It was really, and we were on at something like 1:20 in the morning.
What?
Because at that stage, 1:20 our show was. Because at that stage, the Fringe sort of went on till 3 in the morning. Yeah. I don't think it does now. Shows were starting. I mean, now the Fringe ends at about 1:30, doesn't it? But anyway, we were on at 1:20, which was a challenge.
Yes, to put it mildly. But outside of the Fringe, in London, were you based in London at that point, were you?
Yes, I was. And we were doing jongleurs and the hemming for arms and all that sort of circuit of
The
stuff. And then started going into art centres and
yeah,
just been pottering around ever since.
it's flown since then. So your first Fringe was in what 1988? First Fascinating Aïda Fringe.
Yes, and then the following year we played at the Jamaica Gallery for 2 weeks, and then we transferred to the Assembly Rooms for a week.
Yes, and that's then you've got a really prestigious place to play, and because the bigger venues, people come to them anyway, and they look to see who's on, and there's your poster. So people hadn't discovered you. It's a great place to be, one of the bigger venues, and you play a proper space. Was it the ballroom or something like that? Did you play or?
It was the room that you went into. It was straight opposite the front door, the doors, and you went down to the back. It wasn't the ballroom. The ballroom was bigger. It was 300 seater, and I think it's where Jamie Oliver's restaurant ended up.
Oh right, okay, yeah, because the bar was straight ahead of you, wasn't it? Lots happened in the bar. Lots of contacts and fun happened.
Bar, might have been. There was a bar in there.
Yes.
And there were cafe tables and things. And anyway, it was about 150 seater, I think.
Yeah, marvellous. And you've done the Fringe on and off ever since, haven't you, really? I do remember you retiring from the Fringe. And then, was that a false alarm?
No, we've never retired. What we've done is knock the group on the head for a while.
Oh, okay.
Because of soprano trouble, quite frankly. I've given up being discreet about it. Just the sopranos up and leave us, and it gets terribly depressing. But the one wonderful thing is that when we found Liza Pullman 15 years ago,
yes,
she's not up. We love, it's a very happy group. But the sopranos always think they've got that somehow they're being held back by doing the same thing all the time, and that a West End career is awaiting them if only they can get free of this kind of juggernaut of Fascinating Aïda, because we always know what we're doing a year in advance, and that makes it very difficult if you want to act or do other jobs. So, I mean, between 1983 and 1989, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 sopranos, and that's and we had auditioned London until we found Denise Warmby to replace Marilyn. And Denise just wanted out for it. She wanted it, and I was just exhausted. And I said, no, I can't be bothered. I don't want to do it anymore. And then 4.5 years later, I heard Izzy Van Randwick perform, and I thought, she's absolutely right. She'd come to my birthday party do you remember the marvellous man who ran the Playboy Club, Victor Lowndes?
Oh, yes.
Well, I'd invited Victor and his wife to my party because his wife is in America. He brought Izzy, and he entered and said, "Hi, this is Izzy Van Randwick. She's a great cabaret singer. She should be in your group."
Boom.
And he was no slouch as a judge of theatre and of performers. So I thought, oh, okay, maybe. So then I heard her sing as I was crossing a soggy lawn at the Blenheim Palace. I'd been booked to play the Duke versus the Bill Wyman cricket team after play Cabaret. And when I got there, I said, I'm not going to play. If I sit down, nobody will see me, and it's be embarrassing. So I had a little hissy fit and said, but anyway, as I crossed this soggy lawn, I heard this voice, and I thought, I don't know why, but I think that's Izzy Van Randwick's lovely voice. So I got there, and it was. So anyway, as I felt very bad about kind of having my hissy fit, but I was quite right not to play because nobody would have seen me, because I was accompanying myself on the piano, and they had no podium. And anyway, so I met Izzy, and I said, hello, you came to my birthday party, and we met, and we sat down together, and then there was a raffle. So I thought, I'd better buy some raffle tickets because I've not performed. So I thought I might impress Izzy and win this raffle. I know it's a bit odd, and so I thought I bought about five raffle tickets for 20 quid or something, and all these things kept coming up, like a day's shooting on Scottish Grousemore, or a full barber from Fab Barbers of Perth, and and a day's fishing on the River Tweed. All these things, and then this thing came up, and I said, and it was 2 tickets to see. That's another name I'm going to have to remember. Fab jazz pianist at the Albert Hall, Harry Connick Jr.
Oh yeah.
Harry Connick. So I turned to Izzy and said, "I'll win these." Mine. I did. I won the tickets. Yeah.
That's.
I think she was spookily impressed with me.
I'm spookily impressed with you as well.
And anyway, next thing was I said, I'm thinking of reforming the group, if you're interested. And she was. We had 4.5 very happy years. She was a wonderful team player, and then she got frustrated.
Yeah.
We had 6 months of unhappiness, and it was very difficult. We auditioned and auditioned and auditioned. Couldn't find anybody. It's really difficult finding that mix.
Yes.
And the girl called Charlotte Knightson came from America. She was extraordinary and wonderful, and literally got the audience on their feet. The voice of an angel, wow. Beautiful. Well, but she was she just didn't enjoy it, and she went back after 4 performances. And Marilyn, as she so eloquently put us, Marilyn Cutts then fished us out of the soup for a couple of tours, and then we found Izzy. That's that in itself is a long story. Then we found Liza, and that in itself is a very long story. But Liza came to us because I'd had a recommendation years before, and I never forget people who recommend singers.
Well, with the 3 of you now, with Liza and Adele and yourself, you also pursue solo careers. Is that the balance that keeps Fascinating Aïda together? Because people, if they get frustrated, don't just leave and never come back. They can go and do something else and then rejoin and do the 3 come together. Then they go off and do solos. Because you do solo shows.
I do. Yeah. I do. Because actually you just crazy after a while.
Yeah.
When it's working well, there's huge affection there, and the group is great.
Yeah.
But when it's not working well, and there are times when it doesn't. You want to head for the hills. So it's a way of keeping sane.
Yes, and indeed.
Also, with a satirical group, you do need to with any group. You can't just keep touring, because what happens is the shows get dull.
Yes. And I've just wanted to mention you with your solo shows that you don't always play the piano in them, and sometimes you don't play the piano in them, and you have an accompanist, and you stand at the front as the singer and the storyteller, raconteur, and all the rest of it.
No shame.
But you are lucky. You worked with the lovely Russell Cherney, who is unfortunately no longer with us. Yes, I know, dear Russell. And you work now with Michael Ralston.
Yes, it took me 10 years to get over to actually be able to replace Russell.
Oh, yeah.
It was so distressing.
Yes, no, it's dreadful.
Symbiotic relationship. He was magnificent in a contest. And I always tried to make sure I paid him more than anyone else did. So he'd stay with me.
Yeah, quite. He was a talent. Just on the upside, have you any plans to return to the Fringe if there was one next year? I don't know whether there will be.
We was booked in to return to the Fringe this year.
Oh, really? How wonderful! Yeah. A lot of people obviously postponing. I don't know whether you postpone or will you just rethink it all next year.
No, postpone.
Oh, great.
We had to cancel 13 dates of our last tour because of COVID, and all the dates are being shuffled again. We were supposed to be on tour this autumn.
Yep.
Next spring, perhaps. Who knows? Who knows? I have a ghastly feeling this is going to go on
Yes.
for much.
I've been saying for some weeks now in a rather depressing way that I wouldn't be surprised if the Fringe didn't happen next year. They reckon there's a second wave coming in, probably bigger. We don't know. These are just speculations and modelling and all the rest of it. February, March, and then you've got April, which is when we cancelled this year. So I don't know. It's the future's not good for theatre because I don't think the government takes us seriously enough. That's the trouble.
No, we're governed by a bunch of thugs.
Yes.
I have changed hats for a night. I'm putting Barb Younger on in our local pub garden.
Great. That's a great idea.
I'm producing a show, and I'm going to go on producing shows. I've got notions of putting shows on.
Yeah.
And obviously, as the winter approaches, it's going to be much more difficult. But you know, I thought to myself, I will wither away. I'm dying of art starvation.
Yes.
What I miss more than performing. I'll tell you, I miss seeing shows.
Yes.
I mean, when we get to Edinburgh, I'm the one who gets. I've got the program, and I do a day of studying, and I write down a list of shows, venues, and times, and say who wants to come to what. Mm-hmm. And that's what the girls, you know, they all say now. Oh, Dillie will do that, which would be great. and you know, I'll go 3 shows a day and do a show.
Yes. Well, that's great.
You know, I love seeing shows.
Yeah.
It was meat and drink to me, and not to see anything this month, not to see anything last month or next month. I go to the theatre all the time. I love live theatre.
Yes.
I haven't seen enough in my lifetime.
No. It's the future's not good.
If I can't see it, I'll put it on.
Yes, good. I've been putting on shows down here. Sorry, go on.
I want to create work.
Yes. I've been putting shows on down here. Some of the pick of the Fringe people that I've worked with over the years, I put them on at our local Shelley Theatre, 150-seater. But there's no way that we can go inside because with 1 metre distance, you've got no audience really at all. And in fact, Moira, my wife, as you remember, we were chatting about whether we should put shows on in our garden. We've got a walled garden, it's quite large, and we thought, yeah, why not? We've got a veranda, they can perform on the veranda, and we can all sit in. I don't know. As you say, winter will be a problem. I don't think we're doing pantomime, but let's see what we can do.
Go for it, Merv. Go for it.
Yeah, I think so. Why not? Put shows on in your own house. Why not? Ladies and gentlemen, lovely to chat with Dillie Keane. There we are. Dillie Keane, ladies and gentlemen, a fascinating Aida. Well, that was the legendary cabaret artist, songwriter and actor Dillie Keane. Most famous, of course, for her work with the hugely popular cabaret trio Fascinating Aïda. Well, thanks for watching. There's more interviews to come, so for updates, why not subscribe to this channel? It's free to do so. Well, that's it for me. Bye-bye, and do take care.